Previously on Every Time Daredevil Born Again thought you were legally brain dead.
Huh, well that wasn't very good.
Bigot! Chud! Grifter!
Whoa, that was weird. I guess there's still people who think those words mean anything after hurling them at anyone who says something they don't like for the better part of a decade. Huh. Wow, that was even worse.
Fascist.
Huh, really? You know, I'm gonna look this one up. Maybe I'm missing something here. Let's see, let's get the Webster's 2026 edition. Thank you for your patience, angry mob. Fasciitis, fascicle. Ah, here we go. Fascist, a person who disagrees with you. Huh, guess so. Oh man, I'm gonna have to throw out my whole wardrobe.
And now the conclusion.
Welcome back, dear viewers. Let's put this pudding parade to rest. We're gonna start small, work our way up from brain farts to full-on mind manure. Back at it. Subway trauma and the annihilation of logic. During Hector Ayala's trial, lawyer for the defense of evil cops makes a baffling claim about the dead cop, Shanahan. He states that Shanahan was still alive after the train hit him. What? And I quote, "You don't actually die until they back the train up. And then your body, it just bursts." And that is exactly what happened to Officer Shanahan when Hector Ayala pushed him in front of that train. Let's break that down. A man gets crushed by a subway train, which weighs between 200,000 and 800,000 pounds. And we're told he didn't actually die until someone rolled it off him like it was an ottoman? You don't survive being pancaked by mass transit just to bleed out politely afterward. We're back in Looney Tunes land, folks. Wile E. Coyote doesn't fall until he realizes there's no ground underneath him. Even worse, the show delivers this with full confidence, assuming the audience won't stop to ask basic-ass questions about blunt force trauma, spinal obliteration, or the laws of physics. You know, the things that happen when a human body loses a one-on-one with 100 tons of steel. And whose idea was it to let the prosecutor deliver a medical horror monologue as his closing argument? In any functioning courtroom, a coroner or trauma specialist would be testifying about this. Not Eric from Billy Madison reciting a hearsay morgue fanfic to sway the jury. The DA's riffing about pulverized bones and balloon animal anatomy like he's pitching a Saw sequel. Actually, I'd love to see Jigsaw get a hold of this guy.
Hello, counselor. You made a career of tipping the scales of justice for applause. Now the scales get to answer. One pan preserves the proof that will see you disbarred. The other feeds a shredder that finishes the sentences you once wrote for others. Fail to save those incriminating pages before the timer ends, and you'll be fed into the same machine alongside your lies.
Now look, I'm not pretending the Netflix series was flawless. Even The Punisher's trial in Season 2 of Daredevil was a legal circus that would have easily ended in a mistrial IRL. But the difference is, that was a controlled meltdown. It was emotionally chaotic, sure, but it still operated with a framework of cause and effect. People objected. Consequences followed. It made narrative sense. No one tried to sell you outrageous medical claims. The zaniest thing they tried to sell you during that trial was that the Punisher has PTSD. The zaniest thing they tried to sell you was that the Punisher is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You know, I kind of buy that. Hector's trial, it's like the script was written by someone who fell down a flight of disbarment hearings. Get the hell out of here with your trust me, bro autopsy. The thermonuclear cringe of the triggered Punisher logo. This is a minor one, and maybe it's more of an eye roll than brain damage, but I do have an eye ache from how often they show this.
Born Again seems like it wants to vomit up something to say about real-life cops and military using the Punisher's classic skull logo.
You know, the logo Marvel distanced themselves from and gave farty oxygen to the people who'd brandish you a neo-Yahtzee if you so much as had a faded old t-shirt with the thing. You think they have anything to say about the logo they retired for this eye broccoli?
You think they have anything to say about the logo of the character Marvel became so ashamed of, they brought his wife back from the dead to humiliate him?
Frank, you used to be a soldier. Now you're just a mascot for mall cops who failed their psych eval.
It's actually worse than that. In true modern Marvel style, she shoots him, divorces him, and takes all his money. Also, make sure they know he was a shitty husband and a shitty father.
Then they replaced him with another character entirely. I'm the big bad disciplinarian. I took away your video game privileges and I liked it. I'll do it again.
Anything to say about this? Yeah, think again. They gesture at it half-heartedly by having the corrupt anti-vigilante task force adopt the skull as their insignia. But the show doesn't explore it, challenge it, or even acknowledge its implications. The camera just lingers repeatedly on an Omega-level cringe graffiti version with the word triggered. Get it? How very topical for 2015, Marvel.
And look, I grew up in the sticks. I won't pretend I haven't seen gun-toting rednecks cruising around in rusted-out pickup trucks that reek of whiskey and domestic abuse with Punisher logos slapped all over them. I don't dial 911. I don't dial higher than I can count. I've also seen it on skateboards, Christmas sweaters, air fresheners, my grandmother's face. I don't let it get me too worked up.
The show had a chance to satirize, more cleverly denounce, or at least confront something.
But instead, it just points at it and says, that's probably not good, huh? And even when things come to a head between the Punisher and the crooked cops, the whole thing hits about as hard as a paper plate of wet ziti. But hey, get this. I'm not annoyed they have nothing interesting to say. Police brutality and corruption is a repugnant thing, but this show ain't the Shield. This ain't the show to tackle this topic. This show couldn't tackle a Denny's menu maze.
Matt gets the lead with a coin, a bottle, and an Etsy bullet.
Daredevil Born Again features one of the most astoundingly convenient scenes in modern detective fiction.
Matt's at the scene of Hector's murder that he's responsible for. A random motorcycle zips by and kicks up a coin.
This coin tells Matt that he's on an incline. News to him, I guess. Matt bonks a perfectly upright bottle down the incline. The bottle rolls into a storm drain.
What is this, Final Destination Forensics Edition?
Golfing for gross negligence.
And Ding reveals an engraved bullet casing with, wait for it, the Punisher's logo.
How did the police miss this all-encompassing evidence black hole? Oh, right. Wow, the Zodiac Killer's cipher key, D.B. Cooper's missing ransom money, busted ooze canister, shape-shifting extra-dimensional creature.
Hey, Natty, we're all triggered down here.
Smells like clumsy social commentary. I better go talk to Frank. Now, blink and you miss it, but Matt does give the casing a quick tactile brush. But the show cuts it like the sniff is what unlocked the Punisher logo. Behold Daredevil, the man who can smell graphic design. Maybe the scumbag cops know what Frank uses as a deodorant and spritz down the bullet casings. Oh God, I went to Photoshop this into existence, but they really make this stuff.
The fragrance of fascism.
I'm gonna give you a pass though, Born Again. You did show Matt feeling it for a nanosecond, and this isn't even close to the most ludicrous sensory leap this season will inflict upon us.
And we gotta pick up battles or we're gonna be here all day.
So this obviously all implicates Frank in Hector's murder. Something
nobody watching for even a second would believe he did. Hector's a fellow vigilante with a heart of gold. Or he was, until Matt killed him. Frank Castle doesn't kill guys like Hector. That's what Matt Murdock's for. He may think they're ineffectual and stupid, but he doesn't go gunning them down in the street.
Nice bra, Frank. But I digress. Point being, it sure is handy that there's an evidence vending machine down here. Insert coin, dispense the one piece of ballistic evidence in New York Frank Castle would never drop. This is the kind of shit that's only possible through divine intervention or a writer on his lunch break who just took a foot-long sleeping pill with Italian herbs and cheese.
Good enough.
I don't know if we're watching Daredevil anymore or Blue's Clues, Criminal Intent. Good job. I guess it's true, shit does roll downhill.
The Punisher scene that accidentally reminded you what a good show looks like. And then, somehow, against all odds, a miracle happens. Matt confronts Frank Castle. And it's damn good. Like Netflix Daredevil good. Like emotionally complex, ideologically sharp, morally intense. John Barenthal and Charlie Cox tear into this scene like starving dogs on a steak. And for a moment, Born Again actually lives up to its name. You get two men with shared trauma and impossible burdens colliding in a scene that bleeds authenticity. Frank pushes Matt's buttons like he's still handcuffed to a chimney on that rooftop, and Matt, God bless him, finally feels like Matt again. For 5 minutes.
Then he promptly apologizes for being interesting and the sludge returns.
Here's the part where Born Again thinks you're legally brain dead. It expects you not to notice how violently this scene clashes with everything else in the show. The sudden spike in quality is so dramatic, it's like watching a regional high school musical and then Anthony Hopkins wanders on stage and delivers King Lear. It's tonal whiplash. It's narrative whiplash.
It's being smacked with a pillowcase full of big-lipped alligator moments whiplash.
It's a unicorn galloping through a landfill.
John Barenthal reportedly walked away from the silly Billy She-Hulk version of Born Again because they weren't getting the character right. Did someone show him just this scene to win him back? Because the rest of the show, yikes. This scene is so well delivered,
so raw, so grounded in what made these characters compelling to begin with, that it almost tricks you into thinking the show is back on track when Frank becomes the voice of the audience and dresses down Matt for not doing a damn thing to mourn or avenge Foggy beyond retiring Daredevil. But it's not back on track. This scene is like finding clean water in the desert, only to realize you're still surrounded by sand and your only camel just exploded. Thanks for the 5 minutes alone, Frank.
Now back to your regularly scheduled sewage. Yusif Khan, the Disney Plus cameo that won't shut up. On St. Patty's Day of all days, Matt goes to New York Mutual Bank to apply for a loan. This is now the second scene in the MCU where characters apply for a loan. Apparently, this world is so racist as well that even if you're in the Avengers, the answer's nuh-uh. Okay, Marvel. You need to do better, Verbo. But that's a whole other morally bankrupt, brain-dead Marvel show. Yusif has to break the bad news to Matt that they can't approve their loan due to the firm tending to represent people pro bono and not getting enough net profits. Probably racism, though. Irish racism. The Irish aren't a race. Moving on. Oh, I'll just grab me a shillelagh and be on me way then. It's fine, I'm Scottish, I can make fun of Irish people. Anyway, the whole point is just to get Matt in a room with Yusif, father of Miss Marvel, and Yusif wastes no time making it weird. From his very first scene, Yusif cannot stop reminding Matt and the audience that he's Miss Marvel's dad. He drops her name like he's afraid the mouse will cut his paycheck if he doesn't mention her every 90 seconds. My daughter's a superhero. My daughter's Miss Marvel. My daughter's in the Marvels. You remember the Marvels, right? That cinematic black hole that cleared theaters faster than a Joker shooting that wasn't a Joker shooting?
Do you get it? Do you remember this character? We said he's Miss Marvel's dad. You watched that show, right?
But the truly insane moment comes when Yusif, fully aware that Matt is blind, tries to show him a Funko Pop.
What are we doing here? Are we supposed to think Yusif is stupid?
Or is it just how out of touch and ill-thought the writing is?
In 2026,
Funko Pops are cursed objects, cheap, dead-eyed totems of consumer despair, dumped in landfills and mocked by collectors. So naturally, Disney proudly trotted one out like it was some sacred relic.
nothing about this lands as a heartfelt or at least amusing cameo or meaningful world building. And it makes Yusif, who could have been a likable character, look awkward, forgetful, and dim. Still, you're getting off easy in this show, buddy. Just wait.
The Vault Plan, Ocean Zero. So later at the same bank, Irish robbers appear, each color-coded to their specific attitude and dino-zord. Gaelic Force, go! And their entire heist hinges on one thing, the bank manager, Stephen Aldrich, being present to open the vault. Spoiler, he's not there. He's out sick. So what's their backup plan? Haha, there isn't one. Instead, they grab Yusif, the assistant manager, who doesn't even know the combination, but he plays along, stalling with trivia about the bank's founding year like he's giving a TED Talk on bumble lording.
This bank heist feels like toddlers reenacting Heat with crayons. I've seen mollusks that plan things out better.
The bank robbers are supposed to be stupid?
Really? Well, that's fun. That makes for a good show where everyone is stupid. Still, it was kind of fun watching Matt sneak back in to play secret superhero, whistling like he's popping in for free samples at Costco. But the whole thing caves in on itself before anyone even reaches the vault, which is exactly where this script should have gone.
Woof, does this look infected?
Detective Kim's stand-up debut, a hostage situation comedy. Later in the same episode, the usual hostage negotiator is unavailable,
Reportedly after being attacked by a flock of rogue CGI pigeons when he tried feeding them with a sandwich made of
unused VFX shots from Secret Invasion.
honestly a mercy. Stepping in is Detective Angie Kim,
One of not evil cops in the show.
who suddenly finds herself handling the standoff with lead robber Devlin.
Hey, this guy looks and sounds kind of familiar.
Wait a minute.
And in a moment that feels like it escaped from a much more fun show, he demands that she tell him a joke, or else he'll pop a hostage. And she does, with perfect pacing,
Irish accent included.
Here's the actual joke.
So, a priest finds a four-leaf clover on the hills of Donegal. The priest rubs the four-leaf clover, and out pops a leprechaun. Priest is ecstatic. He thinks this must be my lucky day, that the leprechaun now owes him a wish. But before the priest can utter a word, the leprechaun asks him, "Father, do you by any chance have a leprechaun nun in your congregation?" So the priest says, "Hate to break it to you, sonny, but there's no such thing in this world or the next as a leprechaun nun." The leprechaun shakes his head, confused, forlorn. "Blimey," he says. "I just fucked a penguin." And you know what? The punchline is strong enough, it got a pretty good chuckle out of us.
Which is more than I can say for 95% of Marvel content lately. I mean, of course I'm laughing a lot, but not in the way they want me to.
The problem is the joke is way too elaborate to be thought of on the spot.
And the problem is the delivery. It's too clean, too polished, too recorded in a quiet room between sips of LaCroix for a woman standing behind a cruiser in the middle of an active hostage crisis. I honestly thought maybe one of the other officers had fed it to her, but no, she's just that fast, that funny, that calm. It's not that jokes don't belong in Daredevil.
I mean, look at this.
It's that the show expects you to believe this one wasn't preloaded like a cue card. And that's where they lost the room. Daredevil's discount Irish accent cons a bank robber. The Irish accents aren't over yet, laddies. In one of Born Again's most insultingly stupid moments, Matt picks up a bank robber's walkie-talkie, puts on a fake Irish accent, and Devlin, the devilish mastermind behind the entire Daredevil bank heist episode, buys it. Oh yes, it is definitely my lifelong partner in crime whose voice I've heard 1,000 times now, sounded like a Lucky Charms commercial. Okay, I know that was terrible, but I'm not getting paid millions of dollars to do this. In fact, it takes about 5 years to make around $300 off of one of these videos.
$300? I told you he's a grifter.
It seems like an opportune time to mention we have a Patreon. There's a little thing up there you can click. Even through a staticky walkie-talkie, this should not work. Even Charlie Cox himself has admitted that he was not into this episode. Love you, Charlie. Sorry about this, man. It's just another case of a show that can't stop leaking cerebellum snot all over itself, expecting you to believe how easily this gang, I think we're supposed to take seriously, gets catfished. I guess I shouldn't be surprised Devlin complimented Detective Kim's accent when telling the penguin fucker joke. Jesus, I could have fooled these boys, and me accent's terrible. You're not infiltrating a gang, Matt. You're prank calling them. And not even well. You, sir, are no Longmont potion cast. We are not amused. All right, folks, warm-up's over. Everything so far has just been little bumps on the MRI. What the scan shows next is one of many full-blown narrative aneurysms. In the comics, Muse is one of Daredevil's most chilling villains, and he's got great taste in headwear. A psychotic, super-powered artist who turns his victims into grotesque art installations. What makes him truly terrifying? Daredevil can't sense him. Muse is an actual blind spot for Matt. Silent, unreadable, untouchable. He's a walking nightmare, an existential crisis in suspenders. The perfect monster for a hero built on perception and control. So naturally, Born Again strips away all that and reimagines him as a twitchy incel whose parents made him take Taekwondo. You heard me. Gone is the mystery, the horror, the power. Instead, he gets a couple of scattered scenes, rants like he's farting out a rejected Joker audition tape, and then, just as he's starting to pose a threat, gets gunned down by Heather, the show's aggressively icky attempt at a love interest. We'll be back for you in a moment, Heather. You had a villain tailor-made for Daredevil, and you don't even take advantage of the creepiest thing about him. The whole blind spot thing.
Muse sneaks away and Matt doesn't notice.
Right. That was substantial. Points for nailing the costume, but Muse has been reduced to a whiny Reddit post cosplaying as a supervillain. Good job. Muse versus Daredevil. You gotta be fucking kicking me. So, if Muse being wasted and utterly mishandled narratively wasn't enough, he's literally, as in physically, mishandled as well. Muse manages to go toe-to-toe with Daredevil. I acknowledge Matt is a little rusty at this point, but even still, I don't buy it. Daredeviling, no, but he obviously hasn't been laying around eating cake. Muse holds his own against Daredevil. Not because he's superpowered, not because he's unnaturally agile or enhanced or genetically modified. They ditched all that. Because, as the show tells us, his parents made him take martial arts classes when he was a kid. This guy's kind of a dweeb. How can he beat up Daredevil? His parents made him take Taekwondo classes. Boom, done. You want to, set that up? Integrate it into his character? We'll just have him say it. It's the same thing. Check this out. Look at me. I'm a good writer. Saying it makes it so.
I am blessed to be in this room.
The show genuinely wants you to believe that this guy, this jittery human raccoon with the victim complex, can match Matt Murdock in combat. A guy trained by Stick, A guy who's fought ninjas. Like a lot of ninjas. The the Hand Clan? Kingpin in his prime. She-Hulk with his penis.
Hey, remember when She-Hulk had the writers change the universe to make Matt her boyfriend without his consent?
Call off the Senate hearing. It's a lady being a gooner.
Under Marvel writing law, SA is quirky empowerment.
What a strange, troubling, isolated incident.
Mega Man, you must stop Wonder Rapist.
And now here Daredevil is, getting winded against a Cobra Kai dropout. Sure, a one-sided fight would be boring, but make it make sense. Instead, we get more skull rot with choreography. Daredevil contaminates a crime scene, but way more stupider. Identifies a portrait of his awful girlfriend by petting it. Matt investigates Muse's lair after he escapes and finds a little half-sketched, half-painted smear of Heather. Then, in an interpretation of his powers conceived by a Spam sandwich, he runs his fingers across the brushstrokes and recognizes her. As if congealed barbecue sauce can possibly capture the complexities of a human face. Braille, this is not. A topographical map of Mount Heather, this is not. This should be tactile flatness with a few bumps. The sensory equivalent of touching a crusty Whopper wrapper. Yes, Matt can sometimes identify people through touch. Actual faces, or at least raised, accurate, three-dimensional surfaces. You want to sculpt a bust? Fine. You want to carve a relief? Let's go, Michelangelo! But Matt rubbing this like it's a 4K face scan is the kind of thing you'd expect from a bad SNL sketch about Daredevil. Not the real deal. SNL sketches are almost as bad as this one. Hey! I don't know, maybe the show's good now. Like you, I haven't watched it in decades. More people watching that than Born Again, though, huh? And as much as I adore the Netflix run, yes, they too flirted with this kind of absurdity in season 1 when Matt at least appears to read blueprints with his little devil beaters. For me, it's inconclusive because the show never explicitly confirms he got any information from that moment. It might have just been to show the audience confirmation of Fisk's plans, and he shows no reaction whilst he's scanning. Still, the implication is there, and for me, implying he got a clear Xerox in his brain of those plans is dumb. Really dumb. Hate to say it, considerably dumber than even this. Ink on a page is about 5 to 15 microns above the surface of the paper it's printed on, making it about 30 times smaller than a Braille bump. We're talking quantum realm here, true believers, making it nigh impossible to discern even with Daredevil's enhanced senses. At least it's not a major plot point. It's over in a split second and interrupted by a killer fight with Nobu. But here in Born Again, instead of learning from what might have been a brief mistake, the show sees that wart and says, let me lick it. Also, in the same scene, there's other drawings of Heather that are completely two-dimensional where he detects nothing. So how could he have gotten anything from those blueprints? Oh, Jesus Christ. Now, sure, in some continuities, Matt has been shown to pull off reading print on paper and other unhinged shit in the comics. But this ain't the comics.
In issue 45 of
Shut up! Even in what's supposed to be a more grounded, street-level show, could you hand-wave the whole thing as silly superhero stuff? I guess. Maybe. There's got to be some of it, right? Perhaps if the rest of the show had bought goodwill by not being full of sharks jumping over nuked fridges punching boulders. Even if we say, okay, Matt can do this, the thing he's feeling would still need to be more than a crime scene nappy someone sneezed acrylic onto. But there isn't enough tactile information here to identify a species, let alone a girlfriend. The show tries to play it off by showing you clips of Matt tracing Heather's face, but all that tells me is that he has identified the letter S and possibly smeared his breakfast all over her. Today's finger seance is brought to you by the letter S. S is for sacked.
like these people should have been.
Even if we say, okay, silly superhero shit, there still has to be some narrative grounding here. I could see the idea sort of working if Matt and Heather had been together for years with a deep, passionate bond that's seen him lovingly trace her face 1,000 times.
My love, has anyone ever told you that your face feels like a low-relief acrylic study?
Darling, your zits are like a Braille poem. Their relationship is what? Weeks? Months?
We've been dating for like 2 whole episodes, Matt. When are we moving in together?
Maybe if Heather had a distinct scar? Maybe if she was hideously deformed? You know, in a way you could actually physically feel instead of just hear almost every time she talks.
Oh my God, 2 eyebrows, 2 eyes, a nose and lips. This could only be my beloved Heather.
My point is, their relationship is young, it sucks, and yet Matt can apparently pick out the curvature of her cheekbones from a bloody ass wipe used by somebody with peanut butter yuck butt. You know, at least they remembered to have Matt take his glove off. There's that. Oh wait, that immediately comes back to bite him in the pooper. That's right, if all of this wasn't already setting your remaining brain cells on fire with dum-dum accelerant. Yes, Matt, of course, had to use his bare hands to investigate this portrait, but then he leaves it there. In fact, he smears his fingerprints all over multiple paintings and leaves them there.
Don't worry, it's Daredevil Born Again. It's never gonna come up.
A soon-to-be active crime scene coated in Murdoch prints like it's a sticky 3rd-grade Valentine's Day craft project. This is the same Matt Murdoch who, and I cannot stress this enough, is a practicing lawyer. Lawyer.
Hey, what if Daredevil had the powers of a Xerox machine and the intelligence of a dung beetle?
You guys are as sharp as marbles. This isn't just buffoonery. It's proud, creative buffoonery. The kind of brain pan diarrhea that gets pooped out and stapled, yes, stapled to the fridge. Heather Glenn, an origin story in red flags. From the moment Heather appears in Born Again, she radiates the personality of a LinkedIn post that thinks it's changing the world. At first, she's just a little boring. Fine. Not everyone needs to enter a show with fireworks. But then we learn she's being shoehorned into Matt's life because his new legal partner, who treats him like a child because of course she does, decides to set them up without asking. Call it matchmaking if you want. I call it HR misconduct. Matt's clearly made uncomfortable by the whole thing, and she straight up admits he's trying to set him up on a booty call. And regrettably, call that booty he did. Once Heather and Matt are together, she rapidly evolves from bland to full-blown insufferable. She starts psychoanalyzing Matt at every turn, probing his trauma like she's trying to pop it for clicks. Minus the like part, because she is. And yes, Matt is also lying to her. He's hiding his Daredevil identity, which is also lame and shitty. But Heather's not interested in honesty either. She's using Matt for her self-serving book on Vigilantes. Great book. Took the wobble out of my couch. It's less, tell me your story, and more, let me mine your life for a think piece. And she's not just personally reckless, she's professionally reckless. Hey, did somebody say reckless? Heather meets clients alone in a giant empty office with no other personnel present. She's conducting humiliating marriage counseling sessions with Wilson Fisk and his murder wife, Vanessa. Of course, unbeknownst to Matt. 2 of the most dangerous people alive in the Marvel Universe. Well, one of them was. No receptionist, no assistant, no security guard, no panic button. The woman runs a trauma recovery clinic with the security protocols of a Taco Bell parking lot. And not that nice new Taco Bell you take your mom to on Mother's Day. The older Taco Bell. Then comes Muse. He shows up to her office for a fatal therapy session, wasting a lot of time to put on his goofy costume. There's a zipper in the back. Heather, can you help me out? And Heather is seconds away from dying when Daredevil bursts in to stop him. Muse is a maniac. He's already mutilated and murdered multiple people. He is not bluffing. And Heather, she'd be finger paintings on the wall if Matt hadn't shown up. It is unequivocally only due to Matt's intervention that she is able to gun Muse down. But after all that, she hits us with a delusional line straight from Marvel's one-sided Necronomicon on gender politics.
I saved me.
Boy, here we go.
You didn't! Daredevil stormed in and stopped a serial killer from carving you into assaulted Heather Porchetta. Saying, I saved me, is like saying you saved yourself from a bear attack because you shot it after someone else pried you out of its gaping maw. Call it empowerment all you want. It's narcissistic revisionism. Once again, I ask you, are you ready for the worst part? It's completely unclear whether the writers are trying to frame Heather as a strong, independent woman that don't need no Daredevil, or are already laying the groundwork for her eventual villain turn because, yes, spoilers, Heather does go dark side. Well, more dark side by the end. So are we supposed to look up to Heather or hate her? Because the writing doesn't know and the tone doesn't tell. Heather is the quintessential Hollywood idea of a strong lady person, aggressively self-centered, emotionally manipulative, morally gray when it's convenient, and entirely insulated from the consequences of her own actions. Empowerment doesn't mean making your ladies wrong but never acknowledging it. It means letting them be complex without gaslighting the ever-loving shit out of your audience and probably calling them the names you call them when they smell your bullshit. I seem to recall this all being handled quite well on another show, but unlike Karen, Heather isn't complex. She's exhausting. Matt visits Bullseye in prison and immediately forgets why he's there. Let's play a new game called What Can a Mayor Legally Do? Round 1. Here's your first question. Can a mayor order a high-profile, ultra-violent serial killer to be moved from maximum security to general population? If you answered, no, that's not remotely how criminal justice works, congratulations, you're already more qualified than Daredevil Born Again's writing team. Fisk just snaps his fingers and Bullseye gets transferred to Gen Pop. That's not something a mayor can do. That's up to courts, correctional officials, and parole boards. Not mayors, not even if they're also crime lords in a fancy white suit. We get zero legal basis, zero corruption angle, zero explanation. But who cares, right? You're too busy doom scrolling to ask questions. But don't worry, it gets worse before it gets worse. Bullseye puts in a special request to see Matt Murdock because he's scared. The other inmates keep snicker-snagging on him and stealing his lunch. Then there's the aggressive cuddling. Matt sees this as an opportunity to get some information on Foggy's murder, because I guess he cares now in episode 8 of 9. Great, smart. Do what Daredevil does best. Get into the villain's head. Use his Catholic guilt like a scalpel. But instead, Matt lets Bullseye manipulate him and get him so riled up, he slams Bullseye's head into the table. Just rage. No finesse, no plan. He completely forgets why he came there in the first place. Does he use his superhuman hearing to gauge the truth? Does he listen for a telltale spike in Bullseye's heart rate? Nah, dog. He stares off and grunts like somebody put Miracle Whip on his communion wafer. Get it, Miracle Whip? Yeah. Matt Murdock, the living lie detector,
doesn't even try to check if Bullseye's telling the truth. The Netflix version of Matt would have made him sweat, stared into his soul, and walked away knowing something. This version just does a WWE heel turn and headbutts the plot into submission.
And if I had a chit-chat with the guy who murdered my best friend, I probably wouldn't be thinking too clearly either. I'd probably try, and fail, to do a lot worse. But I expect better of Daredevil. In the prior scene, Matt just uncovered a big clue when it comes to Foggy's murder, so this is extra stupid. I would be remiss not to as well mention perhaps the dumbest thing about the entire scene. There's no cameras. You see, Matt lies to the guard and says that Bullseye bashed his own head into the table. The show mentions nothing about legal privilege. Not that that would make sense because Matt is not his lawyer anyway. This is a violent federal inmate. I guess at Rikers they operate on the honor system. Matt bashes Bullseye's dome and strolls out like it's take your prison beatings to work day. And as a final gift from this clown parade of storytelling, that table slam, it sets up one of the most heinous frontal lobe felonies in the entire show. You see, Matt did exactly what Bullseye wanted him to do. So specifically that it's preposterous. What offended Matt to the point of violence was Bullseye offering information in exchange for Matt to get him out of prison. And that's exactly what Matt did. Pro bono even. You'll see. And just as the Shakespearean sequence is wrapping up, Matt says fuck you to Bullseye. Understandable, certainly, but for Matt, it seems like a tonal hiccup. Is it soul wounding like it is hearing it in Star Trek? No, but kind of like hearing a youth minister say, bruh. A minor complaint, admittedly, but I thought it was kind of weird and I didn't like it. Bullseye weaponizes dentistry, the tooth that launched 1,000 eye rolls. Let's talk about what might be the moment deepest in brainstem bankruptcy and a series already hanging from a ledge by its molars. Bullseye escapes prison by spitting his tooth at a guard. A tooth Matt knocked loose. Apparently, in this universe, the aerodynamic properties of dental enamel rival ballistic weaponry. And yes, comic book guy, I know, Bullseye has used his teeth as weapons in the comics, where he's basically a homicidal magician. Live action Bullseye doing this is not creepy or cool. It's cartoonish. Worse, it's tone deaf to the atmosphere Netflix Daredevil built over 3 seasons of gritty, grounded storytelling. This isn't the Bullseye that stalked Karen Page and made viewers sweat. This is spitball Bullseye. This is bull spit Bullseye. To call this goofy would be generous. To call it grounded would be perjury. We've now extended Bullseye's power set from throws things with pinpoint accuracy to his saliva has lethal velocity. It's like they watched Wanted and thought,
What if you could curve loogies?
Playing cards, pens, paper clips, we've seen it. But the act of throwing is critical. Spitting is not throwing. It's a bodily function. Why wait for someone to knock your teeth out? Why lose a tooth? Just blast a booger at the guards. It's so at odds with the tone, it's practically begging for a record scratch and freeze frame.
Yup, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here. Well, it all started with a tone-deaf cinematic universe and an impacted bicuspid.
You can't have tooth bullets in the same show as pothole politics, depressing couples therapy, tepid middle-aged romance, and zoning disputes.
Well, maybe you could, but you have to be a really good writer.
So what could have been a tense and frightening moment becomes a laughable dental PSA. No one recognizes his face on the way out either, which is shockingly well preserved for a guy whose kisser just made out with a table. If your escape plan relies on spitting calcium, you've already run out of bite. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Queen Pen, born better.
Once upon a time, Vanessa Fisk was the enigmatic, calculating art dealer who stood beside Wilson Fisk, not because she wanted power, but because she wanted him. Her arc in the Netflix series was compelling because it was personal. It was a twisted romance. She didn't crave control, she craved unity. Born Again dropkicks that characterization off a rooftop and has Mousy Jones start the trash compactor. Oops! Vanessa is now presented as a master criminal strategist who single-handedly made Fisk's empire more profitable and stable than it had ever been. She brags that she made the business bulletproof. Kingpin, one of the most feared underworld tacticians in Marvel's grounded canon,
Just kind of shrugs and says, good.
Oh yeah, real good then.
Subtext? Nuh-uh.
the show says it repeatedly. Vanessa is better than Fisk. Smarter, more efficient, more respected. She commands mobsters with a look. She walks into meetings like queen swinging ovaries.
And everyone just falls in line, no matter how little sense it makes. Oh, sorry, this is footage from a Lucasfilm meeting.
Just a brief reminder that I know where all the bodies are buried, and I have a terabyte of all of you with your ladyboys.
And even her cheating on Fisk is treated like a power move instead of a betrayal. Why? Because telling the audience is faster than showing them. She was a civilian art curator with no criminal pedigree who, in our magical off-screen time skip,
Is now the star of Tony Soprano Wears Prada.
the real Vanessa wasn't terrifying because she was better than Fisk. She was terrifying because she chose to embrace his monstrous world, not conquer it. She was Lady Macbeth.
Now she's Lady LinkedIn with a soft focus filter and a superiority complex. She was terrifying because she made Kingpin more terrifying. What made Vanessa scary was that she was Fisk's muse. Their dynamic together was great because it made them both more diabolical, not because it made one of them into a simp. They brought out the worst in each other in the most entertaining way. But now we're left with current day Fisk, the guy who once inspired a vicious hitman to impale himself on a spike. Rather than say his damn name, he sits in therapy sessions getting verbally cucked. And sorry, the sploosh that happens at the end of the show is too little too late, Jake Skywalker. By that point, there's been way too much of Vanessa going on about her boyfriend Adam's hands and how vigorous their arrangement was. But hey, at least they didn't forget to tell us over and over and over. It's probably worth mentioning as well that the mouse recast Vanessa in the original version of Born Again. Step right up and pull the corporate logic slot machine arm as to why. Thank goodness they had the sense to get back Alet Zurer so the character ruination could be far more offensive. It'd be a lot easier to pretend she was some dumbass new character if she was played by this lady. Don't want that. The sausage dungeon of narrative despair. So, as it turns out, Fisk has Adam, the man his wife cheated on him with, locked away in a secret dungeon at the Red Hook port. That's right, Fisk drug him away to his troll hole, complete with romantic lighting and a Michelin-starred Italian kitchen. Nothing says psychological torture like monologuing to your romantic rival while slamming an entire bouquet of sausages. Is this a Game of Thrones reference? I get it, he's starving the dude and scarfing down Fazoli's in front of him. Okay, but it's just weird and the sausages just make it kind of funny. A perfectly marbled steak would be better. Or hey, how about a peanut butter and mayonnaise sandwich? Oh, what are you eating? Am I supposed to be jealous of that? Hell, if it were me, I'd know there's no way I'm getting out of this alive. I just speed things up by roasting the guy. You think this is making me hungry? A walrus gargling sewer cigars?
I was told forgiveness is the highest form of love.
Yeah, that's great. I've been told that sausage penne is the highest form of cholesterol. It's also bizarre because somehow Vanessa doesn't notice Fisk's sausage dungeon.
The show sure doesn't want you to notice that all this is happening at their own facility, a place she visits, a place she helps manage, a place she has shady meetings with
Tracksuit mafia goons, and we're expected to believe she never noticed the lavish supervillain lair / wine cellar / Olive Garden / Auschwitz marked definitely not hostage storage, definitely not sausage dinner FOMO torturarium. She never caught wind of the distinctive smell of Parmesan cheese
and unwashed balls. Smells like an open bag of white cheddar Cheetos up in here.
Now it is almost refreshing to see Fisk doing something evil again, even if it is kind of goofy.
For a brief moment, it feels like the Kingpin we remember. Calculating, dangerous, capable of actual menace.
It's a breath of fresh air in a season that's been mostly filling brain pans and ball smell.
But even this glimpse of villainy collapses under the weight of logic like everything else in Born Again.
Because the second you stop and ask, well, wait a minute, how does the almighty Queen Pen not know about this?
The whole illusion vaporizes. And just when you think the nonsense is peaked,
Fisk finally invites Vanessa over to his little puppy kennel, and Vanessa puts our good boy down. She blows him away, which you see coming a mile away. The show tries to sell this as her darkly renewing her vows, but it's hollow. Another loose end being clumsily cut off.
It's cleanup on aisle plot. In Adam, he was never a character, just a human roadblock in Vanessa's corporate villain glow-up.
But here's where things get fun. After viciously shooting Adam 3 times, Vanessa gives him the old opa, violently knocking his head back against the wall. But then Adam is miraculously resurrected by our Lord God Editor between shots, so he can raise his head and peer between the now happy couple. Ah, you two crazy kids. No hard feelings. Now this is marriage counseling that works, Heather. The show sucks. Kingpin declares martial law because Googling things is hard.
Time for round 2 of What Can a Mayor Legally Do?
Wilson Fisk spends most of Daredevil Born Again trapped in humiliating marriage counseling sessions. Clearly pushed to his breaking point, Fisk decides the only logical response to his life becoming a Kafkaesque nightmare, Daredevil and the city's CGI pigeon epidemic,
and almost getting shot by Bullseye, if not for Matt, who does get shot by Bullseye. Don't worry, he's perfectly fine. The rifle he stole wasn't loaded with plot armor-piercing bullets.
Is to declare martial law as mayor of New York City. There's just one problem. Mayors can't do that. Mayors can't declare martial law any more than an Applebee's manager can launch a nuclear strike.
I've had enough of the bastards next door at shenanigans using our dumpster. Launch the nukes. Ain't gonna make it happen. You can't do it.
Welcome to What Can a Mayor Illegally Do?
Not this.
Not even illegally.
I don't care how many mouth-breathing troglodytes with the Punisher logo spray painted on their onesies you have. It's not gonna happen.
No.
But of course it just does. You would have to have corrupted literally every single official in New York. This is succeeding from the union type shit, okay? This isn't martial law, it's a coup.
Martial law is a power reserved exclusively for state governors or the president.
Did the original writers of Born Again think presidents and mayors were interchangeable?
I am the president of New York City.
Yeah, great. And I'm the mayor of McDonald Land. I'm Mayor McCheese. Birdie the early bird has been serving me up chicken McCuckets with grimace. I declare McMartial law in McDonald Land. I guess they figured you'd be too lazy to look it up. Even on the phones, they now assume you're staring at while you watch the show and write shows to accommodate for that.
Yeah, buddy, just keep shoveling Hot Pockets in your mouth and dropping comments like, "We're so back" on Facebook. Another dead franchise.
Happy birthday, cross-eyed Emma Watsons. the most we get to denounce this insanely illegal numbnuttery is Commissioner soon-to-be killed a bunch saying, "This is insanely illegal." But that's before the topic of martial law even comes up. He's talking about how you can't just go out and murder vigilantes. It's our old buddy Sheila who inadvertently suggests martial law. Then you can go out and murder all the vigilantes you want. Later, in a scene that feels like too little too late damage control for the original staff's writing, Captain Crunch says he's gonna go talk to the governor. But he doesn't even need to. Get the hell out of town and let Fisk hang himself. Let me be clear, if a mayor did try to impose martial law, not only would it not even happen, crucifixion, dude, instantly removed from office, and the knucklehead wouldn't make it through the day without a legal injunction, a statewide emergency called, and a national televised press conference from the governor denouncing him. The whole thing would be shut down before Fisk's goon squad could sig heil. You're talking about suspending civil liberties, deploying military or paramilitary forces, and overriding the powers of the state without the legal authority to do any of that shit, and that's not even taking into account the crime lord crap. In some fantasy land election where a domestic terrorist mobster did become a mayor, the dude would have every eyeball belonging to higher authorities glued to his butthole 24/7 to prevent this very kind of thing until they could get him removed from office. In fact, this would be their big chance to remove him from office.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
The military would just go like, who are you again? All right, that evil supervillain mayor in New York. Good one, buddy. Click. What's the president's phone number? Even the feds couldn't deploy agents in Portland, which is what this is all probably trying to comment on, without triggering lawsuits, a media firestorm, and congressional scrutiny. But sure, let's pretend the mayor can turn New York City into a police state overnight. I am not saying that politicians don't try to overreach their authority. It's kind of what they do. But to properly skewer that, you need to just be like halfway, kind of, sort of willing to do a brief search on government infrastructure. You need to just be like halfway, kind of, sort of smart. And I'm a broken record at this point, but this show doesn't have two brain cells to rub together. This could have been done well, but it wasn't. And look, I'm not gonna front like I 100% knew this without Googling it, but I had the presence of mind to Google it because it sounded weird and like something a mayor couldn't do. And sure enough, they can't. Legally or illegally. You could have actually fixed this by having Fisk corrupt the governor. But I'm guessing this rot goes too deep into the script and they ran out of time. But hey, why bother? There's talking raccoons in this universe, right? Who cares if it suffers from near total civic illiteracy? It's not like this is a sequel to an extremely well-written and down-to-earth TV show that very calculatedly didn't acknowledge the wackier elements of the MCU. It's all good, though. The literal Marvel zombies you're trying to appeal to aren't gonna give a fuck, so why should you, right? Fisk declares vigilantism illegal and the show shits its brain.
Round 3. Let's get ready to fumble!
We would be remiss not to mention the 2 and the 1-2 combo of potato brainedness that Fisk serves up during his State of the State address. Another contender for the most mind-embalming moment in the series. With all the effort to kill the silly Billy vibes of the original show, Daredevil Born Again may have ended up being one of the most brilliant comedies just the same. During his State of the State announcement, wherein he unlawfully declares martial law, Fisk also declares vigilantism illegal. Great job again, Mayor McCheese. I move for your next decree, you should declare it double illegal to hamburgle. Seriously, what's next on your crusade? Are you gonna outlaw murder? You got my vote. Adults wrote this. With toy blocks, sure, but adults. Other adults approved this. Adults stood on a soundstage and filmed this. Like, it's alarming. How does this... Now, before our heads cave in from this nuclear level ninny hammeredness.
Let's just pretend for a moment that vigilantism in the Marvel Universe isn't illegal, which it super is.
Let's go one further and pretend vigilantism is an actual charge on the books and not just legal shorthand for a pile of existing crimes. Frogman doesn't get hauled in for being a vigilante. He gets charged with assault, battery, unlawful detention, trespassing, destruction of property, and impersonating an amphibian. Fisk basically says, crimes remain crimes, but I dislike the costumes. A mayor can enforce existing laws, like the ones I just mentioned. A mayor can prioritize prosecutions. A mayor can pretend to fill potholes. What a mayor cannot do is change laws via press conference because he doesn't like masked weirdos. Not unless he's also secretly the governor, the president, and the Supreme Court in a trench coat. Okay, done pretending. In the actual MCU, quote-unquote, vigilantism has never been legal. The Sokovia Accords explicitly made unsanctioned superhero activity illegal in countries that ratified the treaty. And even after those were repealed, no one replaced them with a, hey, fuck it, everybody go nuts, Bill of Rights for masked vigilantes. Heroes like Daredevil and Spider-Man have always been breaking the law when they vigilantize, usually outright criminal in the eyes of law enforcement, just tolerated because they punch the right bad guys. We're looking at a press conference to declare water wet. Fisk acts like he's forging new legal territory when all he's doing is double banning something that wasn't allowed in the first place. This would be so embarrassing. This is political theater written by people who still eat their boogers. It's normal for everybody to do that, at least for a little while in their life, right? You should cut to Fisk walking down the street the next day getting roasted. Hey, look, it's Mr. Martial Law. I'm kind of thinking about jaywalking. You want to declare that illegal? You could have just said, super duper for real, we're cracking down on vigilantes. No more mercy for vigilantes. It's against the law and my task force is going to double down. No takebacks, and sounded like you halfway understand the law. Declaring martial law notwithstanding.
You ain't dumb.
This guy, I'm declaring vigilantism illegal. Shut up and eat your sausages, Fisk. It really is sad that the writers on the Netflix run had the talent to draw your eyes away from any minor dips into municipal madness. And now here we are with this show. Born Again proudly screams its cranial custard from the rooftops like the Frankenstein monster that it is. The Dareverine. You'd think getting shot in the chest, throwing yourself in front of a bullet to save the man who's made your life hell might slow a guy without a mutant healing factor down. Not Matt Murdock. He takes a bullet for Fisk, gets carted to a hospital, and then just walks out hours later when a discount Wesley tries to kill him. Well, he shows up to kill him and just can't find him. It's really exciting. It's like if Spinal Tap were Hitman. Dishonorable mention for all of the discount Wesleys we've had to endorse since season 1. This guy's name is Buck Cashman? You've got to be from the comics. I can't wait for next season when he's replaced with Dollar Billson. Then season 3's Gold Bar Grant, who will date the alluring, tender Cashmere. Matt is able to simply slip away to the smooth sounds of Killing Me Softly with his song. We should probably dedicate an entire section to the fact Born Again is full of pop songs and it couldn't be more at odds with the tone. But I'm tired, so tired. Yes, the power is out. There's mayhem afoot because Fisk has pulled the power to New York City. But even then, this is a man who was just shot. And before you hit me with the old, it's just a flesh wound in the shoulder,
Looks like a lung-adjacent entry wound to me.
Looks like a high-caliber rifle to me. And by the way, if Bullseye really wanted to kill Fisk, why didn't he just stealthily use one of the 8 trillion knives or forks available at that gala? He used one to kill the guy he took the gun from. I can't document all the stupid. There's just too much. Why not boof a shrimp cocktail and fart it at Fisk? Anyway, let's see you take a shot to the titties and dodge an assassin during a power outage.
Never mind that this is a high-profile defense attorney now involved in a public, politically volatile assassination attempt.
He just strolls out of the hospital. I've tried all the samples. Bye, Costco. And where does this ingenious born-again incarnation of Daredevil go? The dumbest place he possibly could, of course. His apartment. And I have to assume that he shuffled all the way home in his hospital gown. Oh, hi, Frank.
You will never guess what happens next.
Fisk's anti-vigilante task force proceeds to launch a full-scale assault,
complete with enough firepower to level the Bronx.
Leave the Bronx. Matt, fresh off a chest wound, battles through all of it like he just popped a Flintstones vitamin.
This could have been an incredible Daredevil running on fumes sequence if anyone had thought to show him struggling more than, ow, my general clavicle area.
Yeah, I don't really buy your pain in that area when you're popping reverse middle fingers, Matt.
At least we can give an honorable mention to, of course, John Barenthal and Charlie Cox's performances. The violence is real good. Would have been nice to see some squibs instead of CG blood everywhere, but you know, that's just how they do it now. The Punisher feels like an unleashed bulldog in a steakhouse, just as he should. Frank pulling off combo fatalities while Matt does a big frown is good. Frank also gets shot in the shoulder, spraying blood_splatter.mov everywhere. Getting shot in the shoulder is just like their go-to, isn't it? At least have him get shot somewhere else. But as it is a shoulder wound, it's just not a problem at all. Don't worry about it. And Matt kind of gets to confront Hector's killer. He feels an acrylic painting of himself. No, it's this guy. He just kind of gives him a bonk. Bad jackbooted thug. No. Just when things were going mid, someone chucks a grenade, and Matt and Frank have to do a slow-mo lethal weapon dive off the roof. So they can slam into the roof of a car made of marshmallows. Looks like about 5 stories there. How are those bullet wounds doing, gentlemen? They're fine. Okay, Wolverevil. Oh. Hey, I guess we shouldn't complain. It's better than someone surviving this. Hey, look, Karen's here. Karen's back, everybody. She's completed her Disney exile after that
Studio mandate.
Karen, get the hell out of here.
Run! The Punisher gets caught by his own brand. After all that buildup, the Punisher, one of Marvel's most dangerous, ruthless tacticians, is finally captured in a move choreographed by Joel from The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, Joel, are entirely different creatures. One is a genius, the other got brained. It's gotta be rough when the porn versions of yourself get the drop on you. I regret my quip. This is like getting a YouTube copyright claim on your own music. Turn that off! Remember that scene where Punisher took out an entire cell block? I do. Them's were better times. People seem to smile more. And hey, you could say that was pretty ludicrous writing as well, but it was backed up with hours and hours and hours of good stuff. There's such a thing as writers buying goodwill. And then there's such a thing as buying your writers from Goodwill. Yes, the Punisher falls hook, line, and sinker for the most obvious ambush ever. So here we are. I suppose we're supposed to believe that this is the end to the Punisher's arc. The guy who fought entire criminal syndicates is now outmaneuvered by the fan club from hell. And not surprisingly, the show still has nothing to say about the controversy it's mimicking. Nothing to say beyond the visual of bad guys co-opting symbol.
poorly. God, did you even try? Get a stencil next time. They're like $8, $7. It's 13% off. Look at that. Because this makes you look like some sort of highly specialized offshoot of the Punisher that only kills criminal apes. That's it. Officer Shapiro asks Frank to join them. He calls them clowns and they punch him a whole bunch.
You want to talk about empty storytelling? This is it. You should punish your writing staff. Police Commissioner Play-Doh.
All right, I know for some people, this moment makes 8 episodes of Daredevil worth it. For me, it's one of the most skinwalker moments in Daredevil Born Again. Kingpin murders the police commissioner with his bare hands in the scene that goes full Mortal Kombat fatality.
Finish him!
It's brutal, but it's also cartoonishly over the top. Daredevil's always been gritty, sure, but the violence was always believable. Bone crushing, yes. Head explosion, no. Remember, there's adorable talking raccoons in this universe. Born Again looks at that carefully honed tone and goes, nah, that's pussy Street Fighter stuff. Let's get Ed Boon in here. The scene reeks of desperation, like the replacement staff overcorrecting to stomp a mud hole in the original vision for Born Again. Which of course sounded much worse, but this is too far in the other direction now. More so than any of that, I feel Born Again is beside itself to one-up the Netflix show with this. Look, he kingpinned! He kingpinned! There's a reason it feels like a deleted scene from The Boys. I appreciate a good practical effects head sploosh as much as the next guy, but even I can see that this is try hard with a vengeance. Like a child who's just discovered a new swear word, and now they're turning the shit knob up to 11. Well, I'm gonna have to reuse that graphic. Call it tone if you want, I call it a tantrum. Now, the effects are impressive. You feel the crunch, the squelch, the spray, and the head looks tremendous for what it is. But thanks to the lighting director doing the VFX team dirty by blasting it with a spotlight, and the director of photography doing the VFX team dirty with lingering close-ups, by the end of it, it looks like a Muppet zit being popped. I'm not saying don't have the head sploosh, just reduce the splash zone. Less would have been more, and you dial back the Play-Doh puppet effect. The car door decap in season 1 of Netflix DD worked so well because they used the low light to their advantage and they showed the easier to fake part, the body, not the face. Back to the narrative, I can't help but feel the ingenious Netflix Fisk would have squeezed more out of this high profile leverage instead of just squeezing.
Have the widow sent some oranges. Blood oranges.
Instead, he crushes the commissioner's head like a jelly munchkin someone mistook for their stress ball. Because we know what you Cro-Magnon gorehound edgelords like. Viscera. Import revitalization in marriage counseling. Leroy, Disney's avatar of moral rot. Or Leroy, the caramel corn messiah of entitlement. Or silly narcissist, fiddle faddles for functioning adults. This was a hard choice to come to. The martial law thing, the declaring vigilantism illegal thing, suggesting you can make out the curvature of a person's face from a first semester snot rag collage. But this one I found so egregious, so offensive, so childish. It takes the championship. My personal pick for the top time Daredevil Born Again thought you were legally brain dead is my boy Leroy. Now, let's clarify something, because I can already hear the keyboards going clickety-clack. There are absolutely disadvantaged, homeless, or otherwise vulnerable people caught in desperate cycles due to circumstances beyond their control. They deserve compassion, thoughtful consideration, and actual systemic solutions. Tons of people in dire straits who don't steal shit. Leroy is explicitly not shown to be one of those people. Instead, I need you to picture the absolute worst person you've ever met. Now imagine that person as the avatar for a team of hack writers tripping, nay, drooling all over themselves to declare criminals aren't the real problem. Society is. Only these writers are either too lazy or too incompetent to provide anything resembling a coherent or compelling argument for that. All with Disney's full stamp of approval.
Meet Leroy. Leroy is a career criminal whose high score is somewhere around 30 arrests. This paragon of virtue gets caught red-handed stealing not food for his family, not medicine for a condition, but 5 cases of artisanal caramel corn called Fiddle Faddle from a small, probably struggling mom and pop store, barely bigger than a kiosk.
This is what Daredevil is now, folks.
When Matt Murdock is assigned to defend him, Leroy's opening move is to lie about stealing the fancy-dancy Fiddle Faddle and to repeatedly mock Matt for being blind. Imagine someone strolling into a doctor's office, immediately giving the doctor an atomic wedgie, then dunking on him for having a prosthetic leg, right before screaming at the doctor to cure his self-inflicted lung cancer. Only he lies about having never smoked a cigarette.
Oh, and I ain't got no money or insurance. Come on, Doc, hop to it.
That's Leroy's energy.
After he lies about stealing the, get this, 5 boxes of Fiddle Faddle, Matt informs him that there is surveillance footage that gets him dead to rights. Can we pull back up the Fiddle Faddle box? How did this dude think he was gonna get out of here with 5 of these things? Well, he's been caught 5 trillion times, so I guess we can conclude he's not very good at this. We're already not off to a great start, but somehow, some way, the mouse finds a way to make it worse. After being verbally abused, Matt makes it clear that Leroy has absolutely no case. He advises him to take a plea, to which he belligerently refuses. Matt dips out to try to get Leroy bumped down to probation. To do this, Matt openly flirts with the DA's assistant despite already having a girlfriend. Classy Matt. During his flirtation/plea negotiation, Matt self-righteously states that incarceration has been proven not to be a deterrent. Given that Brain.execute has stopped responding with this show, I doubt it's just Matt saying what he needs to say to get what his client wants. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm gonna take this as sincere. If you truly believe that incarceration isn't a deterrent, then why are you a lawyer, Matt? What's your job exactly other than morally flexing at a legal system you apparently think shouldn't exist? If we're compartmentalizing petty crime into a separate category, then say that. Not that I agree. Matt's entire career, his entire life as Daredevil depends on consequences mattering. But hey, I guess that was Netflix DD. This is D plus DD, which I would give a D plus? I don't know. If consequences don't work, Matt, then why not just go home, listen to Heather tell you to watch your tone, and leave Hell's Kitchen to burn? Your whole shtick is penance. And no, him being a defense attorney doesn't turn this on its head. Jail still matters. It's not an ineffectual Airbnb with bars you try to save clients from. Everything revolves around it. He's had clients before that he knows should go to jail. Consider the insane logic here. Really, if you commit a crime 30 times, Matt Murdock apparently thinks society should just roll over and let you keep going. After all, you've committed so fully to the bit. Hear that, Punisher? You've killed way more than 30 people. Matt's totally cool with it now. Have at it. Repercussions free. Oh, hey. Let's let Bullseye out. How about that? Oh, wait, you will do that later. Jesus Christ, this show. We're almost done. When Matt returns and Leroy continues to refuse to play ball, he then gives his reason for his most recent theft as simply wanting something that tastes good. Topped off by this gem. It cost the government more to lock me up than to feed me. Yeah, dude. The universe and the government don't owe you caramel corn. The only entity responsible for feeding you at your advanced age is you! Life isn't your personal vending machine, bro. Not that you'd actually get a job and pay for what's inside one. Yet, Matt,
our, I guess, formerly Catholic, justice-driven Matt actually fucking agrees with Leroy. Rip Daredevil. If this was all a slice-of-life thing to show the kind of insane shit lawyers have to deal with on the regular, fine. If this was all to imply that this kind of attitude is abhorrent, double fun! If Leroy was at least halfway likable instead of rotten, oozing with self-pity and ableist, with a relatable, sympathetic reason for stealing, triple fine. But it's not. Matt agrees with this dude.
You're right.
And here's a key point the show completely ignores. Who do you think suffers when people like Leroy repeatedly target businesses? It's almost always poor, struggling, small businesses. Exactly the kind Daredevil used to fight to protect.
We're not talking Walmart losing a few bucks.
It's families just scraping by, facing bankruptcy because of entitled career criminals who think consequences are beneath them. Rules are for the other guy. The writers provide no backstory, no context, no reason at all to explain or justify his constant criminal behavior. Is he schizophrenic? Is that why you can't hold down a job? Dude tries to blame a scroll, LOL.
The most we get is him explaining that his benefits were cut
Because he missed an SSI appointment.
supplemental security income.
He missed the appointment because he was in jail for stealing shit. It's not my fault I stole shit because I lost my free shit because I was stealing other shit. And yet the show is clearly on his side, has its superhero protagonist agree with him, and almost seems to be brazenly suggesting you applaud him. What an insult to actual impoverished people. This isn't just lazy writing this time. This is ethical erosion of the highest order. This is the same moral relativism that D+ and much of contemporary entertainment is steeped in. The same gross writing that tries to convince you that this guy's a monster that deserves to die for making a split-second decision to defend a disintegrating child from a woman turning into a fanged smoke demon. The same icky ink that had Falcon say,
You have to stop calling them terrorists.
in reference to people who remorselessly roast innocent people alive.
Okay, let's call them grievance goblins. Charred flesh by any other name smells as nauseating.
The inmates are running the asylum, people.
Clearly someone is suffering from media illiteracy.
Don't notice the psychosis. They'll call you the names that don't mean anything anymore.
Anyway, Leroy isn't a tragic figure. He's a narcissist. For me, this is the peak of Daredevil Born Again's contempt for its audience's attention, moral center, and last two working neurons. An insult disguised as empathy.
I'm tired, crime boss. Well, now that we've covered all the major offenders, to give a sense of closure, I figured we should cover how Daredevil Born Again wraps up its tangled skeletal wreck of rubbery CGI, wasted characters, institutional naivete, soft reboot amnesia, and two different staffs giving you tonal whiplash. You guessed it, about as well as a Roomba in a room full of dishwashing machines. Kill me. We end up back at Josie's bar, which has received an overnight post-apocalyptic makeover. Now it's a gritty resistance HQ for a few mismatched freedom fighters. Okay. Matt and Karen have a heart-to-heart about Matt's identity and what Foggy saw in him. See, you didn't take my advice about getting the fuck out of here, did you, Karen? My headcanon is that Foggy's gone to a little ice rink in the sky, and he's enjoying himself thinking exactly zero about Daredevil. In fact, Born Again, Karen and Matt, how's about you just keep Netflix Foggy's name at your mouth? They won't, though. He'll just come back. Characters' deaths aren't allowed to stick and, mean something
anymore. All right, let's meet these nerds. We got Josie, character withheld, so snarky commentary withheld. We got Sherry, who seems to have traded in his don't beat Daredevil energy for Chihuahua, please don't beat me energy. Detective Kim with her impeccable improv comedy skills. That's gonna come in handy if any of Fisk's Gestapo specifically request to be told jokes. 3 not evil cops, making for a total of 4. The fucking gonk droid from Star Wars. Oh my god, it's John Connor. I think this is the smoking man from X-Files.
Might be the demon from the mortuary assistant. I don't know. These are our revolutionaries. Apparently, the show wants this to feel like the start of something raw and hopeful, like the first whispers of a rebellion. But instead, at this exhausted moment, it feels like a support group for characters the writers didn't know what to do with. Meanwhile, the task force probably continues to commit serial murder in the streets, mocking it up so rando looters and anyone else that ever double parked looks like a masked vigilante. All the subtlety of a Marvel Rivals match. How is the mayor declaring martial law and turning New York City into a war zone going to affect Avengers Doomsday? Oh, it probably won't. Oh, okay. My boy Leroy's back out on the streets. Hide your fiddle-faddle, Funyuns, and sense of civic order. Kingpin and Vanessa have a whole slew of elderly vigilantes locked up in their definitely not sausage dinner FOMO torturarium, where the two enjoy taunting their prisoners by slurping down spaghetti a la carbonara. Please do not feed the octogenarian vigilantes. Oh, and Frank Castle, the Punisher, the guy who got one great scene and then basically got ghosted for most of the season. Yeah, he's now in captivity, being held by Fisk / the task force /
Hey, you give me some of that Farrell Mafaldini with black truffle butter and mushrooms.
Don't worry, they put the dumbest soldier to ever live in charge of guarding the Punisher. Hey man, I'm a real big fan. Sure, heck yeah, I'll shake your hand. Ah! And then it's credits.
Sweet, merciful 17-hour-long credits. Look at all these people. This is just the CG pigeon department. Actually, to me, these aren't just credits. They're probably the last Marvel credits I'll ever see.
That's it. Now go post about how fantastic it was. Thank you.
Ouch-tro. Wait a minute. Hold up. Perhaps we missed the most lobotomized moment of all. Greenlighting Season 2 before anyone could even hit play. Greenlighting Season 3 when the ratings for Season 1 instantly face-planted. Marvel looked at this broken doppelganger of a beloved series and thought,
yeah, let's triple down.
Great idea. Blind overconfidence pumped full of brand recognition and wishful thinking, guys. Well, it didn't work. In cold, hard business terms, nobody watched it. Nobody cared. You're launching a sequel to Awake, and you're gonna wonder why no one RSVPs.
Call them the names. I'm declaring criticism illegal.
I'll be honest with you guys, this hurts. Watching something you loved gutted like this run through the mouse meat grinder again and again. It's exhausting, it's sad, it's infuriating. And Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio, they tried. You can see it. They fought to save this thing. You can see Charlie clawing through dead scripts trying to find a pulse, and D'Onofrio summoning every ounce of gravitas to carry a show that doesn't deserve him. Their performances are the lifeboats on this cinematic Titanic. Perfect casting, incredible talent. Wasted, tossed into a creative void of
Studio mandates,
janky CGI, and soulless writing. What's even more baffling is Born Again's showrunner himself once promised less navel-gazing in Born Again. A bizarre swipe at the Netflix series. Talk about punching up. And you can say something's not a swipe. All you want, it's a swipe. But what did we get instead? Scene after scene of Cuckpin in therapy, brooding, Matt getting endlessly chewed out by entitled dingus after dingus while he sits there and takes it like a ball lump. Daredevil bitched out again. If the show was any more up its own belly button digging around for free snacks, it would have needed a colon cam. Hey Leroy, have you tried digging around in your belly button for some free snacks, bud? Something in there maybe? You didn't avoid an overabundance of introspection. You avoided a shred of coherence. And the mouse keeps doing this over and over. Show after show after show. Grind it out. Slap a legacy IP name on it. Pray it trends for a day. And toss the bones into the content pit. But you, dear viewer, you deserve better. Stop accepting sludge. Stop defending sludge. Why do you? These people hate you. Have higher standards, please. The rest of us without app-induced Super Saiyan ADHD that can actually still manage to halfway pay attention to something are begging you. Those of us that aren't willing to sit on Reddit and do the writer's job for them are begging you. Anyways, it's thanks for watching all this, guys, especially so long after the show aired, but it took me months to pour over all this ooze. As soon as I thought I'd covered all the eulogies for brain cells, I'd find another thing that drug narrative nails across the chalkboard. I couldn't even cover it all. That's right. There's more! I'll be the first to admit it. This can't possibly be every time Daredevil Born Again thought you were legally brain dead. In fact, if there was anything you were chomping at the bit for me to cover with this show, drop it in the comments. I'm gonna finish reading Born Again the comic to wash the mouse droppings taste out of my mouth. Remember to follow our Twitch channel for live robot sasshole gaming goofs and our new second YouTube for chunky live VODs. The raw, unfiltered stuff. I'm Editorial Rikk for Robot Co-op, and I'll see you the next time something pisses me off. Until then, rock out with your cog out.
God damn it. Oh, sorry, Matt. That's okay. I'm not Catholic anymore. That makes Mickey Mouse uncomfortable.